Today on my channel, Planner Friends, I'm going to give you 5 ways to combat burnout. Whether it's planner burnout, work burnout, burnout. I have 5 ways to pivot and get yourself back on track, and I'm just going to give you an honest overview of where I've been and what I've been doing. So stay tuned, friends. Hello, Planner Friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm One Crafty Dolo, and I'm so happy to have you here with me. Thank you for taking the time and spending it with me. It's great to see you. Well, I'm not really seeing you, but it's great that you're here. If you're new, you're welcome to subscribe and to tap the notification bell and be notified. Okay, so this is one of those videos where it's like, how do I want to approach this? Today, I'm going to talk about burnout and talk about 5 ways to combat burnout. So let's go. First off, I realized this week that I was in a bit of a funk in terms of, I just hit I don't know, it's almost like I was swimming and then boom, I landed on the beach and I just crashed. And that's kind of what happened. So I'm going to talk about that and how I'm working to combat it. So these are my planners. I have this one over here, so huge, right? And what I realized this week is I had gotten into March and I just, boom, like I said, I hit it, and I took time off to combat burnout. It's not even planner burnout, although I know people talk about that, or creative burnout. It's just in general burnout. So let's talk about where I am and then how I'm working to combat it. Okay, first off, this is my journaling planner, and I lost over a week in journaling. Okay, I did create my monthly. As you can see, I haven't fully planned out my videos, and I am literally filming this today. I did this wonderful, isn't this beautiful? I really love how it turned out. But I didn't get enough journaling in. The author, I always include quotes. This month is Rachel Carson with Spring and so forth. And I picked it up again this week, and I've started to journal, and we're going to decorate and get back on the horse, so to speak. But this was my first thing to get back into. So tip number 1, if you're burnt out in anything, okay, it doesn't matter if it's your education, if it's work, if it's creativity. Number 1 tip is just pick up where you are. Instead of feeling you have to go back. Now in school, it's a little different. You may have material you need to memorize and to learn, but pick up right where you are and don't get caught up in the weeds of, oh my gosh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't. No, pick it back up and say, I've got this. So that's my number 1 tip. Now, work has been busy. I have to tell you, work has been really busy. This is my little, isn't it adorable? My Filofax pocket that I've been using this year. And as you can see, I actually had a lot going on this week, but you'd never know it looking at this. What I didn't do was write all my lists here. I was busy. Honestly, I've arranged pretty much my whole summer schedule. And coordinated all that. So I wasn't writing enough down in here. Instead, I was going by lists. So tip number 1, pick up where you left off. Tip number 2, I was using just plain paper lists to check things off for work. And it worked. Not to be redundant here, but it worked. So number 2 is find an alternate system, or, maybe it was too much for me to put in here and I would have been overwhelmed. Whereas a checklist, I just checked it off and I got everything done. But use an alternate system to what you're using to jumpstart yourself again. Next week, I'm going to pick back up and start again. But let me just show you how I usually do this. Whoops. Okay. See, I check things off in here, I write them, I do all these things, but no, I didn't. And I'm okay with that because, again, I had this alternate checklist thing going, and that seemed to really have worked. So, don't know what to do, use an alternate system, even a checklist to keep track and to show yourself a sense of accomplishment. Oh well, that happens. We're going to move on. Number 3, this is, if you've been watching me for a while, I use a personal planner as my everyday catch-all. I love these planners. This is a Carpe Diem. It's actually an personal wide, it turns out, because it's a little wider. Now, I had found this one on Mercari from Filofax, and you can see it's quite a bit smaller. Okay, let's start there. It is what's that? A good inch, right? And it's beautiful. It's a Finsbury, which is what this little thing is. I haven't used it yet. It's leather. It's the most glorious color, isn't it? But I'm just not sure how I'm gonna transfer my stuff into it. So I didn't, I decided to keep this as it is for March. I really love what I did here. And I didn't wanna, I don't know, I just wasn't in the mood. I wasn't unsure. I kept thinking I was going to switch planners, and I didn't. But here's the worst part. Okay, so I have all my stuff in here, and I love this planner, right? And all my goodies and my tracking. And then we get to March. You ready? I can't believe this is me. Nothing. I dated it this week, and I hadn't done anything. I put the dates in, but here we are. Today is the 17th and it's blank. How am I going to deal with that? Truthfully, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down this weekend and I'm just going to kind of write down the things we did, kind of almost like a memory keeping, just to get back on track. So tip number 3 is, if you want to restart something, you can do that. Restart. But do it in a way that makes sense for you, okay? I would look at these pages. I didn't decorate them. I didn't write in them, which this is really actually one of my favorite planning spaces. So now I'm going to sit down and redo it. So reboot in a different way would be tip number 3, right? Tip number 1, start where you are. Tip number 2, use a different system. 3, reboot in a different way. So this will probably be mostly memories of this month. And I'm okay with that. Okay. I'm okay with that. We went somewhere and I'm going to write that down and that'll be fun. And yeah, so that's tip number 3. Okay. And here's number 4. And this is my A5 Faith Planner that I decorated. I actually did all this for February, and I wanted to keep it through Lent. These were different elements I'd created previously, and if you've been with me, you've seen this. And this is my little Lent. I love this. I love how that came out. So let me show you something. I'm going to turn to March, and I hardly decorated, which is unlike me. I always decorate. If you want to look at February, which I did a flip through of, you can see I decorate and I really get into it. And this time I felt, okay, and I hope you understand this, and this is tip number 4. Sometimes you have to do less than you normally do, and you need to be okay with that. And what I mean by that is perfectionism. If you're a type A, if you're worried about all the things, perfectionism is something I personally have wrestled with. So what I'm saying to you today is I did my study, right? And I really didn't add extra verses to this one. I really just wanted to delve into these, and I did. And I just picked up my washi from the Hooting Pirate Carrot, and I love this washi. I love the color palette. And I just added a little washi in and I was good. Out of all my planners and all my creative, this past week, what I did was I mostly used the Faith Planner, and then I just got back on the horse with journaling. I barely used my work planner. And as you saw, I didn't use this planner. And then I have my other Faith Planner that I'm still catching up on. So what I'm saying in this is that if you can't do what you normally do, you have to be okay with that and not pressure yourself. So that would be my tip number 4. For Sunday, I am going to do this, and this is this past week, and that's okay. I'm gonna do the video and catch up and start anew and be back to where I was. But I just needed an extra little bit of time and took some downtime. So that brings me to tip number 5. And tip number 5 is look ahead. Okay, and look ahead. When you're burnt out, one of the hardest things, you feel like you can't get through the muck. No, you can. And part of that process is looking ahead. So let me show you what I've got here. I took this to work. I don't have a laminator at home, but this is I'm going to use this for a particular project, and I just thought it was so pretty. Simple, right? This was from Craft Smart, the collection I've been using from last year. I really love it. So I laminated that to use that almost like a cover. Then I went through and I, for women's history. So for those of you who know, I have a doctorate in history, and the focus of my dissertation was women's history. So I'm very much all about Women's History Month. I want to do a quote book. And so I went through and I found quotes from different women that I want to incorporate in this book. So what does it say? Well, here we go. You've got Eleanor Roosevelt, "A woman is like a tea bag," which I'm sure you know this quote. "You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water." Mother Teresa, "Be happy in the moment. That's enough. A moment is all we need, not more." I love this one. Margaret Thatcher, "I wasn't lucky. I deserved it." How many times do we think we're not, it's luck. No, it's not. You worked really hard, friend. Frida Kahlo, "At the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can." This is a good one too. Coretta Scott King, "Behind every good man, there's a good woman reminding you, I knew you when you didn't have nothing." Isn't that great? Emma Goldman, "When we can't dream any longer, we die." Queen Victoria, "The important thing is not what they think of me, but what I think of them." And this one I may have to play with a little because it's on 2 pages. "I will never consent to have our sex considered an inferior point of light. Let each planet shine in their own orbit. God and nature designed it so. If man is Lord, woman is Lordess. That is what I contend for." And that's Abigail Adams. So what I try to do is different women, from the monarchy to a saint, Mother Teresa, to a saint, to an artist, to Coretta. So many inspiring women. So I'm going to get back on the horse and get this done. And then I started cutting up all the elements of the My Story collection, and I'm going to delve into this and play with this weekend. And again, so number 5 would be to pivot in some ways and look ahead. If you stay in the muck where you are, then you're going to stay burned out. And if a fresh project or a fresh perspective on something helps you, well, then that's what you need. And out of this entire My Story collection, this is what matters, right? It's your story, and you need to be happy. So that's my little video on burnout, friends. I'm going to get back on the horse and reboot and do all the tips I told you. If you have other ways to combat burnout, drop a tip in the comments. I always love hearing from you. You all help me more than you realize. And I am going to play with these a little bit. I'm still not sure how I'm going to get this set up or what I'll do with it, but I spent less than half of what it normally cost for this, and then I have this little beauty waiting here, and I thought this could be good for spring or for maybe a quote journal. I don't know, but we're going to experiment with it, right? So thank you for listening to me and for being here and just taking time. Let's heal, let's move forward, and let's do the things. Bye, planner friends.